Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. I'm Paul Jasson. Thank you being with us today. Merry Christmas, and a little further down the road, Happy New Year to all our viewers today as we're kind of into that season. We're here at Fairfield Federal downtown, and this place is decorated to the nines. It is beautiful inside here, as most of the businesses are downtown. If you go downtown and drive up and down, it is fabulous decorating all the way around. They have, on the other side of the camera here, they have the ball that will be dropped on New Year's Eve. So, I mean, they've just got all kinds of Christmas things going on here at Fairfield Federal to get you in the mood for this time of season. So, again, we wish everyone, our viewers, a Merry Christmas. Second half of the show today, we'll be talking a little artsy stuff with a local resident who's turned into a really big-time artist from Lancaster and Fairfield County. Eddie Kitchen will be on. That's the second half of the show today. Our first half, we won't be talking too many artsy things with our first guest. That's the Sheriff, Alex Lape. How's your painting? Are you doing any painting?
Well,
Are you doing anything?
My stick figures are coming along fabulously.
Yeah. We can't compare ourselves to Ed Kitchen because we would all, and I would be bad compared to most anyone.
Right, same here.
Anyway, thank you for coming with us. We had you on a few months ago. You were on with Amy Carpenter, and your new calendar was out.
Yes.
Amy's new calendar was out, and the Sheriff's Department was big behind that. So I've seen a lot of things about that. That's a nice little PR thing for her, certainly, but for the Sheriff's Department, too.
Yeah, it gives a chance for some of our deputies to get their dogs out and showcase.
Everybody loves that. Everybody wants to show off their puppies.
That's right.
So you've been Sheriff now for what, almost a year?
Almost a year.
11, 12?
In about 30 days it'll be
In about
a year.
30 days,
Yeah.
Okay. So things are different when you're, I've heard it said, if you're not the lead dog, the view is always the same. So you were not the lead dog for a lot of years,
right.
And sure, you in those years you had your opinions on what sheriffs should do or shouldn't do, and what they did and what they didn't do, and then you assume that position, and you're the one that gets the scrutiny as the sheriff. So as you look back on this year as sheriff, how has it been compared to what you thought it might be?
Well, as the lead dog, you're just the first person that gets to see the bus coming straight at you. No, I'm just kidding. But, it's a little different because some of the things I think from a different perspective, I think people would think you could make happen sooner. It requires a great deal of patience. It's kind of a big ship to turn around kind of thing, especially when you're working with different folks with different personalities and trying to pick the best route to take, and you can't please everybody all the time, but some things you just have to do. You don't have to like them, you just have to do them, and we see a lot of that in our position with some of the mandates and things that come down as far as changes in the laws and things like that. So we understand what our mission is, and that's public safety and serving the community of Fairfield County, and that's our number one priority, and we kind of take everything along with that right along with us and do that job. So it's an interesting time. Probably the biggest thing that I've had in the past year was hiring. Our staffing levels have been...
So it's even gotten to the Sheriff's Department. Hiring is an issue.
Well, I think it might have started there. I don't know. I could be biased in that respect. But there were a lot of people, I think, that early on were seeking different vocations other than law enforcement for some of the reasons that we all are aware of. But I get excited and I'm happy, and for some of the young men and women that are stepping up to serve our community, and I can't say enough about them. It's a trying time, I think, for our profession. I always tell them that regardless of what you hear that may or may not be true, pay no mind to that. You're doing things for the right reasons. Just keep on doing them for the right reasons. Don't think of yourself as any kind of victim out of this whole thing, and we're going to continue to serve the residents of Fairfield County in the best way we can.
And we talk about that. If you watch any kind of TV, no matter who you watch, there's a lot of law enforcement stuff on, a lot of noise
Right.
about law enforcement, defunding and now refunding and reimagining, and in words that I never thought would be used with law enforcement. But I always temper that with thinking, gee, it's not like that here in Fairfield County, because we know the police chief, we know the sheriff. These are friends of ours, people we've grown up with in many cases, and it's just a different feel in like this, say, Chicago.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like to be somewhere where the community doesn't support the law enforcement. I can say without a doubt, majoritively, every county resident here is our partner, our supporter. They support us, we support them. It's a partnership, and that's the way that law enforcement has to work.
And you brought up something a little bit earlier that I think may be worth revisiting. There are lots of things that you as a sheriff, when you became the sheriff, you'd say, well, I'd like to tweak this and make a change. But along with that is the fact that you work with the commissioners, you work in a big-time governmental position, and as you said, the boat doesn't turn quickly.
No.
Even something that absolutely makes sense, that everybody's on board for, it takes a long time. There have to be readings, and there have to be discussions, and perhaps even boards set up to go over things. So even things that make sense, it takes a while to get anything changed.
Right. Just implementation of our body cameras. A lot of folks, folks will say, you need to get body cameras, you need to get body cameras. So we got body cameras. Just the process of creating a policy, procuring the equipment, figuring out how to store the body camera footage, the fees.
It's in the cloud.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the issue is, because the fees that are associated with that are what preclude a lot of agencies actually from moving in
So
that
more
direction.
than just the physical cost of the cameras
Right.
and the charging and all that, the cost of storage is big.
Right. Cost of storage is huge, and then you have to have somebody maintain it. Personal records or FOIA request for Freedom of Information Act request for the footage. You got to redact it. It's got to be redacted a certain way. There's just a lot of pieces and parts into that just that one project.
Yeah, somebody may not think on down the road, well, boy, they have body cameras on TV. You guys ought to get those.
Right.
There's a lot of moving parts to that.
Right. There's got to be controls on it. Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
It's a big project when you implement it.
So you did implement it.
I did.
Your men and women up there have them. Has it turned out to be a positive tool?
It is. It is a good tool.
But it's just that, a tool.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
There's all the things that you hear with that. It depends on the perspective, the angle, and a lot of that different conversation.
Yeah.
We haven't really been involved in any circumstance where there was a problem with
Fingers
the
crossed
perspective.
on that.
Right. Our dealings mostly are with the prosecutor's office. So we provide them with a lot of footage, and they appreciate that. Helps their cases. We have a few public records requests that come in, and you have to approach those in a little different fashion.
Yeah.
As far as the redaction of the video and things like that. But it's time consuming, just that one project.
My guest is Fairfield County Sheriff Alex Lape, who's been in that position as our Fairfield County Sheriff for almost a year now. You talked about something a little earlier, new hires. Does that mean that some of has it been for the most part the older folks have retired, or just other people have stepped away because of all the things that we spoke about law enforcement?
Well,
both?
It's a combination of both. Some have gone to a better paying job.
Sure.
Which is kind of a natural kind of attrition that we have with that and retirement. So that's just filling those positions. Some folks have just decided that this isn't the right job for them, and they're going to go work in retail or something along those lines, and it's okay. But it's just taken a while to get. And then another component of that problem is getting the correct candidates, because we have a certain standard that has to be met.
That's a long process too, right?
That is
From
a long
the time
process.
you would ever even interview somebody, or whatever the first step is, to where they actually can be in a cruiser, that's, I don't know if it's a year, I'm not sure.
Well, it would be from the time they can be in a cruiser, if they went straight from our hiring process, finished that, it would be 16 weeks of training with another deputy. So after they complete that training, then they are able to work alone.
There again, that slow moving thing, and to just try to make sure this is the right person.
It is. And the process itself of hiring, they have to go through a pretty elaborate background check, a psychological evaluation, a truth verification test. And there's a lot of things that and we have pretty high standards. So I can tell you conservatively 50% of people that apply don't make it through the process.
Yeah.
And that slows
is that
it down
they wash
as well.
out within that 16 weeks, or they just don't make the background part of
They
it?
don't even make it to the 16 weeks.
And they've applied and they think this is for them, but maybe not.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Do you have a lot of people applying for these positions now? Is law enforcement? Have you seen a decline or a movement? More people want to get in it in the last couple of years?
I think it's they're probably overall is less, but the quality of the candidates are better.
Really?
If that makes sense.
Oh, nice.
We have a lot of folks, and we have a lot of different programs. They could come in as a corrections officer and kind of dip their toe in the water and see if this kind of work is what they really want to do. And if that's the case, then they can get through the academy and then become a sworn deputy. So they'll make that transition. Recently, I had 6 corrections officers that did make that transition, and now they're deputies. So,
Okay.
there's that process, and there's some incentives for them to be able to do that as well.
The law enforcement academy you're talking about, do police and sheriff, everybody go to the same one? Is that part of the same system?
The same set of standards are set by the state
Okay.
of Ohio for the basic peace
And after they
officer
get
training.
through that, then they break out into perhaps whatever they're interested.
Right. Sheriff's offices are somewhat different than a municipal police department. We have a different mission. We do different things. But I've always said that working at the sheriff's office is better, and I'll continue to say that. I would rather work at the sheriff's office. We have 505 square miles to roam around in.
Yeah, that's a lot of cruiser time.
Right.
A lot of cruiser time. What other small villages around are you folks in charge of? I think I know one maybe is Millersport.
Well, Millersport has a part-time police force. So,
Okay.
When they're off duty, we will handle
So
the
you
calls.
subsidize a little bit there.
Or we'll do things together. Same thing with
Sure.
Baltimore. Bremen, Sugar Grove. Sugar Grove has a part-time police force. There are 13 municipalities in the county, 2 of those being Lancaster and Pickerington, who have full-time 24/7 police service. So anything in any of the other municipalities within the county will handle the.
Do you have much contact with Pickerington on a day-to-day basis? Are you involved with them in any way, being as big as they are?
Well, yeah, Violet Township alone is a population of about 36,000.
Sure.
So it's similar in size to the city of Lancaster.
Yeah.
So they have a certain portion of that population that they respond to. I think our dispatching communications group probably talk to them on a regular basis.
So you guys are involved with Violet Township? Now, not the city of Pickerington, I get that.
Right.
But are you in charge of Violet Township?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are 13 townships in the county as well, so we cover all those too.
Well, that'd be a big one up there.
It is.
That's
It's a big population.
Probably-
and it's continuing to grow.
I was going to say even Franklin County would be probably some involvement there, being right next
There
to
is.
that.
Actually, the city of Columbus is the largest municipality in Fairfield County because their city limits come into Fairfield County. So sometimes if the city of Columbus Police Department make an arrest, they'll bring them to our jail because they arrested them in Fairfield County. So that was kind of a little known fact there, I guess, that a lot of folks don't realize. But we are, and our focus now is to make our government services center available in the Violet Township. We're going to have our new substation there at that location as well. For the first time since probably 1987, I've reformatted our patrol areas. So effective the first of the year, we'll have 17 deputies that come in and out of that Violet substation.
Okay.
But right now, there's not that many that work out of that substation.
Well, there's so many things that at time just gets away, but there's so much we want to talk about. Can we get you to come back?
Sure.
Because I'm sure we could do easily another several shows.
Yeah, you might have to give me that sign though when I keep rambling on.
It might be me that's rambling on here, but it's always a pleasure to have you on, Sheriff. And anytime you want to come back or we can get you back, we're honored to do so. Sheriff Alex Lape with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Department. Best of luck into the new year as you begin year 2. I'm sure it's going to be a crackerjack year. And
It's going to be better, I'm sure.
Going to be better. Going to be better. Sheriff Alex Lape with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Department. We'll be back on Fairfield Today in just a moment.
Fairfield Medical goes the extra mile to give attention to their patients, to their guests, anybody that comes within those doors.
There's no question that the staff there are all personally invested in seeing that I got the best care possible.
The staff was so comforting. I felt like she was in the best hands.
They basically gave me a second chance at life, and I'm going to make the most of it.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Life is unpredictable. That's why estate planning is important. Estate planning provides you comfort and peace of mind knowing that you're taking care of your loved ones and ensuring your legacy lives on just as you envisioned. You lived a life that is beautifully and uniquely yours. You deserve an estate planning attorney who understands that and creates a plan as unique as you and in the best interest of your loved ones. You deserve the local, trusted, experienced attorneys at Dagger Law.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Fairfield Today. We certainly want to thank Sheriff Alex Lape. Busy guy all the time, but he is so genial and so easy to talk to. And when we try to get him on, he's always more than happy to come on. So we appreciate that good connection with Fairfield Today and Sheriff Alex Lape. And again, one of the fun things about having a show like this is when you get to talk to people that you've known for a long time. Recently, I had the show with Rex Kern, who was an old West Side buddy of mine, and it's a pleasure now to have another West Sider on with me, and somebody much like Rex, who've always been in this community and kind of made a name for themselves in this community, and that's Ed Kitchen. Eddie, welcome.
Thank you. Nice
a pleasure to have Ed Kitchen with us. Everybody, I think, knows Ed as one of the really fine artists from Lancaster and Fairfield County. I mean, it's just remarkable. Ed and I go back to, I guess I was a sophomore and you were a junior.
I'm older.
Much older. And one year when we were in high school and we played the same instrument in the Lancaster High School Band, we kind of sat in the same section there. But I can honestly tell you, I had no idea you did anything in art. And I'm sure you were involved in it at Lancaster.
Right.
Mrs. Ent later became Dorothy Ent Coleman, was the art teacher. And I'd have to guess she had some kind of influence on you as a young person.
Right. She told me that I was not going to Columbus College of Art and Design. I was going to Ohio State because that's where she went.
Because she went there.
So we were pretty good friends.
Yes. She was almost legendary. She had been there so many years. Like I say, it was Dorothy Ent, Mrs. Ent, when we were there. And I don't even know if I was even ever in the art section at the high school. It was across from the band room down there. It was on the other side of the hallway, but you probably spent a great deal of time on both those sections.
Right, and then the next room over was the football coach's art room.
Is that right?
Right.
So
I think his name was Watson or something.
Yeah, John Watson. Yeah, those were the days. But Ed, everybody knows Ed's art from here. I always enjoy going down to, well, those days are gone now, Standing Stone Bank during the festival, because you always had such a nice, beautiful display down there of so many pieces you were able to put up. Now you're moving to another venue for the
old
festival?
Fairfield Federal Building.
Nice.
With the Art Buckle Group is where I was this last art walk.
Yes.
Which is very nice. I was in the vault.
In the vault.
Right.
Well, the expensive stuff. They put all the expensive stuff in the vault.
Right.
Well, we've got some things we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about it, and then we'll have shots of it that Shane will take and put up there. One of them we could talk about is about your thing coming up at the Decorative Arts Center, just 100 yards up the hill here.
Right.
When's that? First of the year?
Right. That's the next exhibit coming in. Will be called Hindsight.
Hindsight.
And it's about, it'll have primitive artists or artists that tell stories. And I'm very fortunate that they're going to include some of my grandmother's work, Kitchen, and they're going to include me for the next generation of keeping telling stories. And I'm using these two originals as my contribution to this exhibit.
And those are, the first one we'll see will be the West Side?
Right.
Okay. And is that what it's called, the West Side?
Once a West Sider.
Once a West Sider.
You remember
And I
that
love
mantra?
that. And I love that. Again, I talked with Rex, and I can talk it with Ed there. Once a West Sider.
You're always a West Sider.
That's right. And proud to be that, too. I'm proud to be that. So that picture there, as we look at it, you see the Omar bread truck. You see the Deeds dairy truck. You see Reed's Cut Rate or Reed's Drugstore right there. Artie Thomas's building right there. So many memories just in one picture.
Right. Well, we all, our whole family grew up right there together in the old days, and then you had all the people. Lancaster was Anchor Hawking community.
Absolutely.
And everybody would walk by to go to Anchor Hawking. I remember watching the houses move for the parking lot down our street to go across the street from General Sherman.
Right. And I can remember there on Pierce Avenue, it's behind what is now their parking lot. Those used to be all houses.
Right.
Well, those all they all left, the Waltons and everybody that lived there, because that became the parking lot, because Anchor Hawking was the big guy in town.
Right.
Good or bad, that's the way it was. And they were good for the community.
They
I mean,
were.
we were fortunate to have a building
I think
like
everybody's
that.
parents were former.
And then you have a big one there, Mardi Gras with the Ohio State, with the Lancaster band in there.
That's correct. I've used the band in a couple of my pictures because the band and Eugene Teachout, who was our instrumental teacher, was very big in defining who I am, I think. I think a lot of people identify me, from our generation, of course, as the leader of the band.
He was the drum major. So whenever you see a picture of that Ed has drawn, you can always tell where Ed is, because he's in the big white uniform leading the way. You were a terrific drum major, too.
Thank you. That was Eugene's idea. That was not my
was that
idea.
right?
Right. I did not ask to be that job.
So you probably had him at Thomas Ewing.
I did have him at Thomas
And
Ewing.
then you sort of moved almost together to Lancaster High School, or maybe a year apart.
Right.
Did you have Mr. Carney for a year? And then,
I did.
And then Mr. Teachout came. So he knew you from junior high days.
That is correct. That's correct. Right.
So that's amazing how it works. Small town things.
Well, I always laugh. I always like telling this story that I started out taking percussion lessons because I like the drums. So obviously I wasn't a very good percussionist, because they said, "Hey, Eddie, why don't you play the baritone?" And I went, "Oh, okay." So
I got that same call from the trumpet. You're not going to. We got Lawrence Solt and Fritz Reed and Steve Jones.
Right.
We don't need you to play the trumpet.
Right.
So
I moved to the baritone, and I always say, "Well, then they went, hey, Eddie, why don't you lead the band? You don't have to play an instrument."
even again, a euphonium baritone player in the band. That's where I got to know Eddie a good bit back then. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, Joyce Rao and Marlene Smith.
Marlene Smith and Danny Bender.
Oh, right.
Danny Bender was, and Joyce and Danny and I were all in the same class. And then a younger boy came in who was probably the best of us all. His name was, you were probably gone by then, but Warren Tickner. He was he's passed away now, but he was a tremendous baritone player, the best of the bunch. And he was the youngest. You know how it is, you're the old guys, but he came in and he was better than all of us.
Oh, I'm sure you tell people I was the best.
I always did until you left.
Right, okay.
You've got some things going on at the, as you mentioned, the Decorative Arts Center. You've got another thing going on later.
We do. We're going to the lower level gallery. 6 of my friends, they're all painters, but they come from all walks in life: architect, syndicated cartoonist.
Are they all in Central Ohio?
They are all in Columbus.
Okay.
And we get together at the golf course, the Scarlet Golf Course, for lunch once a month.
Nice.
And so we're all coming down here to do a show during the festival.
Yeah, and that is May 21st, August 28th, the Pump House guys. Huh?
And that got its name because they collectively were in an exhibit in Chillicothe, Ohio, at the Pump House. And the way that you get in is somebody dies. Then you replace them.
There's only so many openings.
Right, there's 6. So
my guest is Ed Kitchen from Lancaster High School, graduate 1964, the first class of what was then the new high school.
That's right.
And I always, my own opinion, I always felt, and you got to go there 2 years to what was the old high school.
That's right.
And I got to go there 1, and I was always honored to do that, because I always thought what a great school that was. Right. It was just different. You know, you go to the more modern school that's now in a few years will be gone. But the old high school up on the hill, what became eventually Stanberry, that really had character in there.
Right. Well, we used to, band-wise, which like I said, did help define who I was. Remember, we would march down from the high school, down High Street, down to Northfield.
Yep. And before it gets away from me, I tend to ramble here because I enjoy talking with people like you and Rex. It's just like talking to friends. But what got your interest peaked in art? Why did you decide that was going to be your path?
Because that was where my skills laid.
And you discovered that early on?
Yes, because I like Gary Briggle, who did great artwork, and Seda Bell Scheibel was our instructor at Thomas Ewing, and I liked her, and they all
big influences.
Right, they did influence me a lot. And then when my wife and I got married and had our first child, we decided she was going to stay home, and Mary Ann was a classroom teacher also. So we literally cut our income in half. I think we were making $3,000
big money
a year.
Big money.
And so we were living on Allen Street. And then all of a sudden we realized that we had an adjustable arm mortgage, which was not a good idea, but
started going up.
It went up, and we realized we were going down the tube financially with the house. So I had to find something that I could do. So we started doing art shows. So we traveled. And eventually we were doing up to as many as 12 in the summer. So we would have been in Michigan, we'd been in Indiana doing art shows.
And I've been reading some things. You still take classes?
I do.
I saw that and I thought,
I do.
You're as good as you are and you take classes. I think you'd be teaching the classes.
Well, it's always nice to be exposed to different things and different avenues, different ways to go. Because after 40-some years, I don't want my work to all look the same.
No.
Some of the things I paint for emotional reasons, because I have something that hits me in the heart, and other ones I do for aesthetic reasons, only for messing with lines, shapes, colors. Seeing if I can do it and show you a new way of seeing things.
Well, I saw that and I thought, man, that's something. When you can be at your level in your field and you still want to learn more things and want to get better. And I guess that's the object. You just want to change and be current.
Yes, and I like art. So therefore I like being exposed to different things.
What's the favorite kind of painting you like to do?
Landscapes.
Landscapes?
Right.
Yeah.
And most generally when I do these classes, the people that are in the class with you are not, they're all pretty gifted artists also.
Yeah.
Because the people that are giving the classes are coming from all over.
Sure.
Pittsburgh, California.
That's probably a different feeling, and we've all been in those settings. We're here in Lancaster, you're Ed Kitchen. You are an artist. You are the guy.
Small.
Yes. But then you go in there and everybody is an Ed Kitchen. Everybody has equally good talent. So that's probably, again, there's much to learn, and sure they pick up things from you too.
Well, I don't know about that, but I have some friends that are very, very talented. One of them is one of the gentlemen coming is Jeff Stoller, and he's a syndicated cartoonist.
Well, I remember that. He always was in the Dispatch, all over the country, I suspect.
He is still in the Dispatch, with Moderately Confused, and he's a good friend.
So you've got the thing coming up, Hindsight. Is it just called Hindsight?
I think it is called Hindsight.
Hindsight, after the first of the year, up at the Decorative Arts Center. You've got the one later in the year, the Pump House Guys. You'll be at the Art Center, Decorative Arts Center again with half a dozen of your closest friends.
Right. Well, I don't know if they're my closest friends. Well, they are my friends.
And then you've got well, we talked about that, the thing with your grandmother, in the Hindsight one. And then is there something going on in Bexley?
Oh, right. Bexley Library selected 15 artists, regional artists, to buy their artwork. The artwork had to be a certain size and unframed, and they paid everybody $450 for the small painting. But it was juried, as many things are juried. There were 6 people on the jurors that ran museums in Columbus.
Know their stuff.
All right, and so mine was selected, and so you can literally check out my artwork at the Bexley Library.
Well,
but you have to have it back in 28 days.
28 days, that's great. Well, it's a real success story, and we're just so happy for you that I just think it's wonderful when you can live in a town and make a living in your hometown. I think that's just terrific.
Well, the town has been very good too.
Yes, well, that's great. Well, we enjoy, you are one of our favorite sons, like Rex. There are certain people that, that have just been recognized in this community as exceptional at what they do, and you're certainly in that team photo. Ed Kitchen, local artist, thanks, Ed, for being with us. Maybe one of these days we can get back again. It's always a pleasure, joy to see you, and a pleasure to talk with you.
It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Ed Kitchen with us. Thank you for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.